Hello and welcome to ReginaldESQ. I'm Underhook and this is the next in my series looking at the armour changes in patch 9.12 World of Tanks. Today we're looking at the Matilda. So on the right hand side of your screen here you can see a pre-recorded version of Tank Inspector featuring the Matilda, and on the left is the live 9.12 version of Tank Inspector. So I'll start the pre-recording and go to the colorized view, have a look at the front. Immediately you can see major changes to the tank. I'll just stop the recording there. So you can see the entire front of the tank has changed shape. It is now a beak, has a sort of a beak rather than a straight across design. However, you may be thinking, but hang on, it didn't look different before, right? You're right. So if we look at it here, you can see this line coming down here, line coming down here. That's the actual line. This part here apparently counts as nothing. Maybe it's made of cardboard. It doesn't act as spaced armour or anything according to Tank Inspector, unless Tank Inspector's got it wrong, but they don't usually. So you can see there, if I cut it away, that's the shape, and there it is. So a major change to the front of the tank, and it has, in my opinion, weakened it somewhat, especially it has a special weakness now if you angle the tank, and I will show you that in a second. So back to the colorized view. So you can see here the very lower portion on the pre-recording was, I think, 47mm or something, but it was so small you could never shoot it. Now it's quite a bit larger, so it's still 47mm, but this section is larger now, so that's definitely weakened it off. Although on the angle that it is on, if we line up the same height as Matilda's gun here, we can see it's coming up around close to 70mm anyway, so it's not a big nerf, but it is a nerf. Now, moving along here, till we get up to the red section on the pre-recording, we can see that that section there is 78mm. Well, this section here on the tank we can see is coming up as 75mm, and the section above that is 78mm. So the amount of the tank that's 78mm has been substantially reduced here at the front of the tank. Once again, a bit of a nerf. Now this section above here is 47mm, and it was on the old version as well, so that's not a problem. Now, one thing you can see here is the dimensions of the tank may look different from one side to the other. That's simply due to my pre-recording process, which stuffed up, so the tanks are out of tilt with each other. So I do believe that this section here, the height of this section, is actually very similar to the way it was before. So it looks like it's bigger and it's a big nerf, but I don't think it might be a little bit bigger. It might extend further down now than it used to, but it's not a lot different. But it is 47mm. Once again, it comes up around about 60 in the 60s on the equivalent meter, so it's not too much of a nerf, that particular section. However, this is where the real nerf is the shaping of the front of the tank. So what they've done here, they've given this section here, which is 55, which is of course substantially less than the red sections were before, and it is sloped. So right here, it's coming up as a ricochet from the front, and as we move out, it starts to become sort of 70s, 60s, which sounds okay. Then we get to this area here, which is 40mm, which can be penned from the front without too much trouble. So 40mm, even when you angle it, as it is quite well angled, it still doesn't give you much of a boost. So that's a great weakness. So if you shoot at the Matilda now frontally, next to the tracks, just shoot in there, pretty much anybody can penetrate it there now. Also, if we angle the tank 45 or say 35 degrees, as I used to love doing in this tank, used to be very hard to pen. As you can see here, the beak, even this 47mm here area is giving us a ricochet, and down low it's coming up in the 70s. Very tough from the front here, but now we can shoot into here. It's 55mm coming up equivalent 59, so that is definitely a weakness when angling the tank, and the more you angle it, the more of a weakness it is. So how do you know where to shoot it though? Because it actually looks like that. Well, basically between this lug here, which is for towing, I guess, it's got a big hook on it. So between the hook and the track, if you aim in between the hook and the track, you'll be pretty assured to hit that area if that's what you want to hit on an angled Matilda. These areas up here, are easier to hit on that angle as well, but they're still 70 odd millimeters of armor, so it wasn't a problem. But this area here could be a problem now if you angle, and this area here is a weakness now if you're front on. So definitely a nerf to the Matilda, because we need to nerf British tanks because they have so many really strong tanks. Okay, so the front of the tank here was 75mm and is still 75mm. Not a lot of change there, unless you consider the fact that this used to be the same bit, 75, and is now less, so that's definitely a nerf, these side panels compared to what it was. This section here in front of the driver is 70mm. That remains. A lot of the HD remodeling have been removing those sort of weaknesses, but not on the Matilda, they've left it there. That side section of armour there is the same as it used to be at 70mm, so no difference there. Just waiting for my pre-recording to move to a spot that I want to have a look at here. That brown section there showing up now is 47mm. Well, it is on here too, except it used to have a red. It used to be just that small little bit here was this brown section, and then it's got the red section above it, which I'll show in the pre-recording now. So that red section is 70mm. Well, they've done away with that, and now it's all 47. So once again, another weakness here just below the turret. It's coming up as in the 60s because it is very heavily sloped, but it is 47mm, so it is weaker than it was previously. And moving up to the turret, so you can see here the turret was 75mm and is still 75mm, so no change there. However, there has been a change to the mantlet. So you can see here the mantlet was 75mm. Well, this section here, the pink section, is still 75mm, which is great, but the purple section is now only 70mm. So there has been a nerf to the mantlet area of the tank. So it was a consistent 75 before. Now it is 70, and this area here only is 75. So once again, another little nerf frontally on the tank. The cupola and all that is still 75 as it was before, so it's still very strong in that area. Now, one thing you can see here, if I get this the same angle, they've changed the cupola. It's now a two-tier cupola, so it has one section, another section. It didn't used to do that. It used to just be entirely one piece, but I think the height of it is still the same. Now, it may look different on these two recordings, and that's simply because my dimensions are out of whack, but I think that actually it's the same height. So it's not really a nerf, it's just something to note. The side armor is pretty much the same as it was before. So right here we've got our spaced armor of 25mm over the top of the 40mm underneath. Still gives you a good 85, so even sight on this tank is a beast. This section in here, 15mm over 40, so if you have to shoot it from the side, this is where you want to aim, but it's still the same as it was before. The upper hull is 70mm, same as it was before, so no changes there. And in fact, the back and top of the tank are identical to what they used to be, so no changes there. It's really just the front of the tank that has been fairly... Look, it'll still be a beast, but it has definitely been nerfed, and people know where to shoot in this area here. The tank is much more vulnerable than it used to be. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more tank reviews and armor reviews, please subscribe to ReginaldESQ. Have fun.